So this week, Tim and I have been reading a book on relationships, and it's just brought up a lot of conversation between us. And one of the things that we've been talking about is why relationships fail or why they make it. And so we've just been talking about the different aspects of the reasons why a relationship will fail. And one of the things that we came up with was just the lack of doing the little things in life.
Right.
And so we've just talked a lot about like what are the little things that him and I do for each other, and how they make us feel.
Right. I know for me, one of the little things that I appreciate is since I do work the swing shift that you do save dinner for me.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I might not eat it till the next day for lunch, but just that little thing makes me feel appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many things that you do that make me feel appreciated, and that you care. One of them is just like this morning, we got home from the grocery store and I had to sit down at the computer and do some work, and all of a sudden I look over and he's doing the dishes. I hate unloading the dishwasher, and so he unloaded it, and then he sat there and he loaded the dishwasher, and then he washed the stove, and it's stuff like that that I really love, because it shows that you do care, and you're pulling your weight.
Right. I think another thing for me that makes me feel really special is that if I'm discouraged or I'm frustrated or something, just the way that you approach me in a calm manner and, let me know that everything's cool. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
So during that situation, you don't escalate the situation or get angry or frustrated with me. So I think the little thing would be the patience you have for me.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and I've noticed that it makes a difference with you. I've never approached you in a manner of escalating you or anger or anything like that. But it just, it works. It's better to have patience in any situation than to get upset or angry or frustrated or whatever.
Right.
So.
I think in relationships, if there's a lot of tension, I think that there's the key problem is probably lack of doing those little things.
Yeah.
For example, not doing those things that you talked about, and then trying to make up for it in other ways.
Yeah. Like what other ways? Give examples.
I think some men fall into the trap of being inactive and not involved at home.
Mm-hmm.
That means not involved in the daily chores, not involved in the discipline of the kids, pretty much not present at home, and then they buy a big gift every 30 days or every 60 days and hope that sacrifice or something is going to suffice and that their partner is going to forget about all the shit that they don't do.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, like with you, you're always there. You're always pulling your weight. You help with the kids. You help with the house. You really do that. So those times, like the other day, you show up from taking Cody to school, because you do that every morning except for Wednesdays. You take the kids to school.
Mm-hmm.
And, I wake up and I look up and you're in the doorway with flowers. Well, if that was something you did every month or every other month or, as a gift to make up for not doing those things,
you kind of despise it after a while.
Yeah.
Kind of oh, here he comes with his offering again.
Exactly. So when you do get me flowers, it does mean so much, because it's not something you do all the time.
Right. That's I think a lot of frustration in relationship, just like we've been talking about, is one person doing their part and then the other person not doing their part. And so the person who is doing their part has to do more. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like codependency in a sense, because you're making up for somebody's lack.
Yeah.
And so their presence or their not involvement in the household and the chores and then having the one mate have to do everything, it's going to lead to a lot of resentment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah, because, you don't feel appreciated and you're doing all this work. So for me, I work at home. So I have to work at home. I have to clean the house. I have to take care of the kids. And so when you were here, if you weren't to help out, like that would be so frustrating for me. But I could see how I would start resenting you.
Right.
And it would cause a lot of friction.
Yeah.
In our relationship.
Yeah, I think most mates need a woman needs is maybe for their man to put the beer down and do the dishes. Turn the game off for a weekend, spend time with the kids.
Yeah.
And I know that's probably not popular. Please, no negative comments.
You're gonna get a lot of men hating you.
But maybe your woman needs a little more.
Yeah, and you can tell when that is. You really can, because when she starts like getting frustrated with you, or he, depending on the circumstances, like if you weren't helping out, like you could see that frustration building in me. Right. So you kind of, if you need to step up your game.
Right. So having said that, what do you think the challenge is for couples out there?
I think just, study your spouse or your partner, and just where does it look like they need help? Like, say it looks like they need help with the kids. Well, step up, be a dad, be a mom, whatever the case is, and just help out. Right. Or if the dishes need done, just do it. It might take 10 minutes out of your day, but it could mean the world to your wife.
Right.
So I think just, look and then acknowledge those things that need to be
awesome.
Done. Yeah.
I love it. One of the other things I think that cause relationship to fail is probably a lack of gratitude. And, basically when we take each other for granted, that's what takes place. The lack of gratitude and not appreciating each other.
Oh, yeah. Because even if you do notice those little things, like you doing the dishes today,
right.
Had I not been like, honey, thank you so much, that was a huge help for me, you would have been like, oh, why did I do it? She doesn't care.
Right.
Or you might still do it, but you would still have those feelings of, she just doesn't care. She doesn't acknowledge it. She doesn't appreciate it.
Right. Exactly. So I think, once we recognize what those little things are, and both have like a mutual commitment to do those little things, I think the most important after that is to show, appreciation for those things, just like you said, because if you're doing the little things and they're not being recognized or noticed, or they're not being paid attention to, then, it might lead to those behaviors not continuing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when you were doing the dishes, I was busy. I was emailing people. But when I noticed you were doing it, I stopped what I was doing, and I got up and I went over there. And I'm like, thank you so much. And,
right.
I just, was touching your back. And just so you knew, I recognized it and I appreciated it.
Right.
Had I not done that, you may have not known that I actually was appreciative of what you were doing.
Right. If I were to give a challenge to whoever's listening and watching this video, I think the challenge would be to really think about gratefulness, and the daily things that your partner does that you are grateful for. And not only that, but when they begin to do those things, you begin to take notice, and you begin to almost praise them or thank them or appreciate them for those things.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good challenge.
I think so too, because it really does make a difference. Like how often are you telling me, I'm so grateful for what you do for the kids or for the home, or, I'm glad that you decorate the home or whatever.
Right.
It makes a big difference. It really does. And so if your relationship is struggling, are you noticing the little things? Are you appreciative of it?
Right. Exactly.
So,
and I think the last thing is, the kind of I got the girl syndrome, and to think back, before we were dating and while we were dating, I was at the gym maybe 4 or 5 times a week, just getting lean and mean, and then we met, and then started pursuing you, and texting a lot and all these different things, and little dates at the river, and just all this little stuff that couples do almost to kind of like woo each other and stuff. A lot of couples that ends really, really quick.
It does. It really does. So I was on Facebook yesterday, and it's I gotta love Facebook. But there was this meme that popped up, and it really got me thinking. And we talked about it for a while last night, because it goes right along with all of this. And it said something along the lines of, "Ladies, leg shaving season is almost over." And I laughed because I'm like, that is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like,
I wonder if manscaping season's almost over.
I don't know. But like, it's the same thing. Got the girl syndrome, got the guy syndrome. Okay, I got him, and I don't have to shave my legs anymore. I don't have to do my hair anymore. I can sit around all day long in my sweats. I don't have to clean the house, whatever the situation is. A lot of women fall into that trap after they have the guy.
Yeah. A quote just popped in my mind, and I don't know where I heard it, but what you did to get him is what you got to do to keep him.
Yeah.
And it kind of rings true a little bit because, if you don't do those little things, if you're not appreciative and you don't do those things, then slowly it's going to start deteriorating.
Yeah, exactly.
Pursuing you, and there was some weeks that we probably went on a date like 3 times a week.
Oh yeah, it was a lot.
And so I know that we can't do that now, but the question I want to ask anybody who's listening: do you still date? Do you make time for each other?
Yeah, we even fell into that trap. You moved in, and our dates kind of ceased, and we would finally go on a date when I'm just like, I'm gonna pull my hair out. I need a date, and we would go. But it could be 3 weeks, it could be 4 weeks, it could be 2 months. It depended on when I got to that point, or when you got to that point. Like, I just need alone time.
Right.
And not alone time, kids are at school, but alone time, let's go do something and work on us. And so while all the kids were gone for the summer, we spent a lot of time together. We did a lot of stuff together.
Yes.
And I got where I really, really enjoyed it. And so ever since the summer and the kids all got home, we have made sure every single week we have a date. Every Friday night, date night, kids know, unless it's an emergency, we're going on our date.
Yeah.
There's been exceptions, like our son had a birthday on a Friday, so, we did his birthday stuff, and then the next day we went on the date.
Yeah. And there was that one time that we got Chinese food and locked the door.
Yeah, you don't even have to, go out, We just, there's not a lot to do up here without driving an hour. And so we're like, let's just get some Chinese, take it home, lock the door, let the kids know, don't come disturb us unless, you're dying type thing. And they really didn't. They did really good at staying away. And we just stayed in the bedroom. We talked. We went over different ideas we were having and just spent the evening on ourselves in the bedroom. So it's not like you have to go on extravagant dates.
Right.
So
just making time for each other.
Yeah, just purposely making that time.
You know what? I really feel maybe that should be our next video. Just making time for each other.
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think so too.
So just to recap, the 3 challenges is to discover what your partner needs, and not only to discover it, but to be what your partner needs.
Yeah.
And then the second one is really to write down things that your partner does that you really, really like and you really, really appreciate. And when they do those things, thank them and appreciate them for doing those things.
Well, and even, going further than that, maybe both of you write down that list and discuss it together.
Absolutely.
Because then that just, promotes communication as well.
And then the third challenge was to shave them legs.
Yes,
It's
shave
really
the legs.
important.
And take your girl on a date.
Take your girl on the date.
Yes. She
And
will be very appreciative.
Get off the couch.
And it might end up really well.
Put the beer down, get up off the couch, and wash some dishes.
Yes. You'll have a happy girl if you do that.
All right. Till next time. Bye.